Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're diving into a really vivid and honestly pretty intense chapter, Daniel chapter 7.
Yeah, it's a big one. Definitely impactful.
So the scene starts with Daniel having this dream, right? A vision at night. Four huge beasts coming out of this churning sea.
Exactly. Stirred up by like the four winds of heaven, it sets a scene of chaos right away.
And the whole thing is just packed with symbolism, disturbing stuff, really.
It is. And what's key, based on the material you sent over, is that this is prophetic vision. It's using this really strong, sometimes quite scary imagery to talk about a sequence of world powers.
Right. So our mission today is kind of unpacking those symbols, sticking to what the text itself and the interpretations in our sources seem to suggest.
Precisely. Let the text guide us through the imagery.
Okay, let's get into it then. These creatures rising from the sea, what's the first one like?
Okay, so the first one. It's described as being like a lion, but with eagle's wings.
A lion with wings.
Uh-huh.
Okay, strength and speed maybe.
That's how it's often read, yeah. Lion for kingship, power, eagle wings for, swiftness, maybe covering vast distances quickly. Babylon is often the connection made in the sources.
But it changes, doesn't it? Something happens to the wings.
It does. The text says if wings were torn off, then it was lifted from the ground, made to stand on 2 feet like a human, and given the heart of a man.
Wow, that's quite a shift. From flying lion to something grounded, more human, less beastly.
Kinda, yeah. The sources suggest this transformation is significant, maybe a humbling, or a change in the nature of that power, losing that initial, almost supernatural speed and dominance. So it's a fascinating detail.
It really is. Okay, so that's beast number one. Then comes the second one.
Right, the second beast. This one's described as being like a bear.
A bear. Different feel already. Less majestic.
Definitely more brute force, perhaps,
Mhm.
and it's specifically mentioned as being raised up on one side.
Raised on one side. What might that signify?
Well, interpretations in your sources often link this to the Medo-Persian Empire, which took over from Babylon. The idea being that it was a dual kingdom, Medes and Persians, but one side, the Persian side, became dominant, hence raised up on one side. An imbalance.
Yeah. Ah, okay. That makes sense. And it had ribs in its mouth.
Yes, 3 ribs in its mouth, and it's told, get up and eat your fill of flesh.
Grim. So the ribs could be conquests, victims.
That's the common reading in the materials, yes,
Yeah, right.
representing specific nations or territories conquered by this empire. And the command just emphasizes its voracious, destructive nature.
Okay, so lion eagle, then this lopsided hungry bear. What's beast number 3?
The third one is like a leopard, but this one has 4 wings on its back, like a bird's wings. And it also has 4 heads.
A leopard with 4 wings and 4 heads. That's complex. Leopards are fast.
Super fast. And
Yeah.
adding 4 wings would just amplify that incredibly. Your sources typically connect this with Alexander the Great's Greek Empire. The sheer speed of his conquests was legendary.
Okay, the speed makes sense with the leopard and wings. But 4 heads.
Right. The 4 heads are usually interpreted, based on your sources, as the division of Alexander's empire after he died. It's split among his 4 main generals. The Diadochi. So speed and then fragmentation, but still powerful. It says it was given authority to rule.
Exactly. It captures both aspects.
Yeah.
The lightning-fast expansion and then the multiple centers of power that emerged afterwards. Still a major force, just divided.
Got it. So Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece.
Yeah.
That leads us to the 4th beast. And the text makes a point of saying this one is different.
Very different. The text really emphasizes this. It's described as terrifying and frightening and very powerful. It doesn't get compared to a specific animal initially, just its characteristics.
Which are?
Large iron teeth, bronze claws, and its actions are purely destructive. Crushing, devouring, trampling whatever was left. Total domination.
Iron teeth. That echoes the statue in Daniel 2, doesn't it?
Okay.
The 4th kingdom being strong as iron. It does indeed. And your sources almost uniformly point towards this representing the Roman Empire. Its military might, its crushing of opposition, the sheer scale of its power fits this description of just overwhelming force.
And this beast has horns. 10 horns.
Yes, 10 horns, which, according to the interpretations in your material, represent 10 kings or kingdoms that arise from this 4th empire.
Okay, 10 rulers or powers emerging from this Roman context. But then something else happens with the horns.
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting and kind of the focus shifts. While Daniel's watching these 10 horns, another horn comes up among them, a little one.
A little horn. Doesn't sound that threatening initially.
Maybe not by name, but its actions are significant. It comes up, and 3 of the first 10 horns are uprooted before it. plucked out by the roots.
So this little horn displaces established powers.
Exactly. It asserts itself aggressively. And it's described as having eyes like the eyes of a human and a mouth that spoke boastfully.
Eyes suggest intelligence, maybe cunning, in a boastful mouth.
Arrogance. Blasphemy. Precisely. Your sources really focus on this figure. It arises later, it's different from the initial 10, it's intelligent, arrogant, and actively takes down some of the others. Its identity is debated in the sources. Some see historical figures like Antiochus Epiphanes, others see a future Antichrist figure, but the characteristics are clear. Rising power, opposition, arrogance.
Wow. Okay, so that's the sequence of beasts, culminating in this truly terrifying fourth one in this disruptive little horn. But then the vision shifts, right? Away from Earth.
Completely. It's a dramatic shift. Suddenly, Daniel sees thrones being set in place in heaven, and the Ancient of Days takes his seat.
The Ancient of Days. Tell us about that description.
It's majestic. Clothing white as snow, hair white like wool, suggesting purity, wisdom, timelessness. His throne is flaming fire, its wheels are blazing fire. A river of fire flows from before him.
Fire seems key here. Judgment. Power.
Absolutely. Divine power, judgment, purification perhaps.
Yeah.
And the scale is immense. Thousands upon thousands attend him. 10,000 times 10,000 stand before him. It's a scene of ultimate authority and order, contrasting sharply with the beastly chaos on earth.
This is the heavenly court, then.
Yes, the setting for divine judgment.
And the text says the court was seated and the books were opened. What happens next concerning the beasts?
Well, the focus immediately goes back to that boastful little horn. Because of its words, Daniel watches as the fourth beast, the one the horn is attached to, is slain, destroyed, thrown into blazing fire.
A fiery end for the terrifying beast and its boastful horn. Direct judgment.
Exactly. It shows divine accountability. No matter how powerful or arrogant earthly kingdoms become, they ultimately answer to this higher court. Their end can be total and final.
What about the other three beasts? The lion, bear, and leopard.
That's an interesting point your sources note. They have a different fate. Their authority is taken away, yes, but they are allowed to live for a season at a time.
So not immediate fiery destruction like the fourth one. Their power ends, but maybe their influence lingers, or the judgment is just different.
It seems that way. Perhaps representing empires whose power fades, but whose cultures or peoples continue. Unlike the final judged entity represented by the fourth beast system, it's a distinction the text makes.
Okay, so judgment happens, but then another figure appears in the heavenly scene.
Yes, this is hugely important. Daniel sees one like a son of man coming with the clouds of heaven.
Like a son of man, so human-like.
Human-like in appearance, yes. But his arrival is celestial with the clouds of heaven. He doesn't rise from the chaotic sea like the beasts. He comes from above. And he approaches the Ancient of Days and is led into his presence. Direct access to the ultimate divine authority.
And what happens when he comes before the Ancient of Days?
He is given dominion, authority, glory, and sovereign power. And it's universal over all peoples, nations, languages. Everyone is to worship him.
And this dominion, it's different from the beast's power.
Fundamentally different. The text stresses his dominion is an everlasting dominion that will not pass away, and his kingdom is one that will never be destroyed. Unlike the temporary, sequential, and ultimately judged power of the beasts. Everlasting, universal, given by the Ancient of Days. This is the ultimate outcome the vision points to. That's the climax of the vision itself, yeah. This transfer of eternal authority to this Son of Man figure. Your sources heavily link this to messianic expectations.
Now, Daniel saw all this, but he didn't just, take notes. How did he react?
He was deeply troubled. The text says his spirit was troubled within him, and the visions alarmed him. He was disturbed.
Understandable.
Right. So he goes up to one of the figures standing there in the heavenly court and asks for the true meaning of all this. He needs it explained.
His reaction really underscores the weight of it all. It wasn't just a weird dream. It felt real and deeply significant.
Absolutely. And thankfully for him and for us reading it, the text provides an interpretation.
What's the basic interpretation given first?
It's pretty straightforward initially. The angel figure tells him, "These four great beasts are four kingdoms that will rise from the earth."
Okay, so simple equation. Beast, excesses, kingdom. Symbol to reality.
That's the foundational key, yeah. The terrifying images represent actual successive world powers.
But Daniel wasn't satisfied with just that, was he? He pushes for more details.
He does. He specifically asks for the truth about the fourth beast, the terrifying one with iron teeth and bronze claws, the crushing and trampling one, and about the 10 horns, and especially about that other horn, the little one.
The one that seemed more imposing than the others, with the eyes and the boastful mouth.
Yes, that one. He also notes something we didn't mention earlier, that he saw this horn waging war against the saints and prevailing over them until the Ancient of Days came.
So this horn isn't just arrogant, it's actively persecuting God's people and, for a time, succeeding.
That's what Daniel saw, and he needs to understand it. He wants the full picture of this final oppressive power.
And the interpretation continues, confirming the fourth beast is a unique, devastating fourth kingdom that will devour the whole earth.
Right, trampling it down, crushing it. The 10 horns are confirmed as 10 kings from that kingdom.
And the little horn
Is another king arising after the 10.
Mm.
He's different. And he will subdue 3 of the previous kings. So the interpretation confirms Daniel's observations about its rise to power.
And what about its actions? The interpretation gets specific there too, right?
Very specific. It says, this king will speak words against the Most High. So, blasphemy, direct opposition to God. He will wear out the saints of the Most High, meaning prolonged oppression and persecution.
Wow. And try to change times and law.
Yes, attempting to alter established religious observances or divine laws, basically trying to set up his own authority in place of God's.
And the saints, God's people, are handed over to him for a specific period.
For a time, times, and half a time, that specific phrase.
Right. Time, times, and half a time. What do the sources generally suggest that means? It sounds like a code.
It does. And your sources discuss it a lot, often interpreted as 3.5 years' time being 1 year, times being 2, half a time being half a year. Or maybe symbolically, a limited but intense period. The crucial point, emphasized in your material, is that it's a limited duration. It's not forever. This period of intense oppression has a defined end.
An end set by
the court sitting in judgment. The interpretation explicitly says, but the court shall sit in judgment, and his dominion shall be taken away to be consumed and destroyed to the end.
So, despite its apparent success in persecuting the saints and defying God, its power is temporary and judgment is certain and final.
Exactly. That's the reassurance embedded in the interpretation. Ultimate authority rests with the divine court, not the earthly oppressor.
And what's the final outcome, according to this interpretation, after the little horn's power is destroyed?
The interpretation concludes by saying that the sovereignty, the power, the dominion, the greatness of all the kingdoms under the whole heaven will be given to the people of the saints of the Most High.
So not just judgment on the bad guys, but vindication and empowerment for God's people.
Yes. Their kingdom, it says, is an everlasting kingdom, and all the other dominions or rulers shall serve and obey them, or rather, serve and obey the Most High through them. It's a complete reversal of the earlier picture of the saints being oppressed.
From being worn out and handed over to inheriting an everlasting kingdom, that's quite the turnaround.
It's the ultimate trajectory presented in the vision and its interpretation. From violent, temporary earthly kingdoms to an eternal righteous kingdom ruled by God's people under his authority.
How did Daniel react after hearing this full explanation?
Still deeply affected. The text ends the chapter by saying, "As for me, Daniel, my thoughts greatly alarmed me, and my color changed, but I kept the matter in my heart."
So even with the explanation, the sheer weight of it all, the conflict, the suffering, the vast scope of history and judgment, it left him pale and troubled. He understood, but it was heavy.
Very heavy. It's a profound vision about the clash between earthly power and divine sovereignty, about suffering and ultimate vindication, not something you just shrug off.
Well, we've certainly taken a deep dive into it today, looking at Daniel chapter 7 through the lens of your sources. We've walked through the beasts of the little horn, the heavenly court, the Son of Man,
And the interpretation provided within the chapter itself. It paints a picture, a perspective on history, where earthly empires rise and inevitably fall.
and where ultimate lasting authority belongs to a different kind of kingdom entirely.
Exactly. It's a view from that prophetic imagination looking beyond the immediate political realities to an ultimate enduring reality governed by divine principles.
So, a final thought, perhaps, for you listening. What does it mean to grapple with a vision like this, where the powers that seem so dominant on earth are shown to be temporary, and where the final everlasting kingdom is given to the saints, the people of the Most High? How does that shape how you view power and history?
It definitely offers a different perspective.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into Daniel chapter 7. We hope exploring this powerful imagery and the interpretations provided by your sources has given you something to think about.
Yeah, definitely keep pondering these ideas of earthly versus eternal kingdoms. And please do keep sending us sources for future deep dives. We appreciate it. Until next time.